Hey there, and welcome back to Midnight Whispers. Every night, somewhere in the world, someone dials 911 in desperation, only to find that help never comes. These stories aren't fiction, they're based on real events. Stories where people cried out for protection, but the very systems designed to defend them couldn't or wouldn't intervene. Tonight, we bring you three real and deeply disturbing tales of fear, helplessness, and the chilling silence on the other end of the line. Stories that remind us monsters don't always wear masks, and the most terrifying moments are when you realize you're truly on your own. If you're new here and you enjoy real horror stories, disturbing true events, and the kind of content that keeps you up at night, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. We release new videos every week, always after dark. Now, dim the lights, put on your headphones, and try not to look behind you. Because tonight, we whisper stories the police couldn't silence. 1. The Man at the Window. It started on a Tuesday night. Emily, a 26-year-old graphic designer living in Seattle, noticed a man standing across the street from her apartment. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, staring at her window. She brushed it off. Big city, weird people. But the next night, he was there again. And the next, always at the same time, always motionless. She called the police on the fourth night. They came, checked the street, but the man was already gone. Probably just a loiterer, they said, so she installed a camera, just to be safe. On Friday night, she stayed awake watching through her blinds. At 2:14 a.m. he appeared, this time closer, just across the street. Her phone shook in her hand as she watched him raise something to his face. Binoculars. He was watching her, intently. She didn't sleep. She handed the footage to the police the next morning. They said, without a crime being committed, there was nothing they could do. The following night, he wasn't across the street. He was at her window. The camera didn't catch his face, only a blurry figure standing just inches away from the glass. Emily screamed and called 911. The police arrived 11 minutes later. The man had vanished. No fingerprints, no sign of entry. They never found him. Emily moved out 2 weeks later, but sometimes when she stays at hotels, she finds herself checking the window first, just in case he's there, waiting. 2. The silent roommate. College dorms are rarely quiet, but Sarah's apartment was unusually silent, except for the footsteps. She lived alone, a small 2-bedroom unit on campus. It was cheap, slightly run down, but perfect for a student. A few weeks in, she started hearing faint noises at night, footsteps, the creak of a door. Her building was old, so she ignored it, until she noticed things moving. A box of cereal was on the counter when she clearly remembered putting it in the cabinet. Her phone charger vanished, then reappeared in the bathroom. Once she came home and the TV was on, even though she hadn't used it in days. She told her friends. They laughed, told her she was probably stressed. So she set up her laptop to record video overnight, just for peace of mind. What she saw chilled her to the bone. At 2:47 a.m., a figure crawled out of the hallway closet. A man, thin, pale, with dark eyes. He walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, drank from her juice carton, and disappeared back into the closet. She called the police immediately. They searched the apartment and discovered a small maintenance access door at the back of the closet, leading to a crawl space that connected multiple units. There were signs he'd been living there for weeks. He was gone. No one knew who he was. No fingerprints, no belongings, just the empty cartons and a small mattress hidden under the floorboards. Sarah moved out the same day and never lived alone again. 3. The 911 loop. Extended version. Jason was a 34-year-old teacher living alone in a small town. His life was ordinary. He got up in the morning, went to school, read in the evening, sometimes watched old horror movies, until he found his first letter in the mailbox. There was no name on the envelope. Inside, there were only 3 words: "We see you." At first, he thought it was a bad joke. It could have been one of his students or one of his neighbors playing a joke. He crumpled the letter and threw it away. But 3 days later, a second letter arrived. This one was shorter. "Don't ignore the signs." That night, the first phone call came. At 3:17 on the dot. After a single ring, it stopped. There was no caller ID. The next night, it rang again. This time, he answered. There was only the sound of breathing. Deep, rhythmic, and utterly inhuman. She contacted the police. He explained the situation. They gave him the usual suggestions like block the number, set up a camera at home. But strangely, the calls came from a different number each time. The cameras caught nothing. A week later, the letter was different. It was handwritten, a single sentence: "Call 911 now." Hands shaking, she picked up the phone and dialed. A familiar female voice appeared on the other end of the line. "911, what's your emergency?" Jason took a deep breath and explained everything that had happened. His voice was cracked. He was scared, but he was detailed. There was silence. Then, the voice said in a whisper, "Jason." Then a gasp, and again, "Jason." He froze. It was not a human voice. It sounded like an echoing, muffled void. He hung up in a panic. He immediately dialed again. This time, the real 911 answered. The female operator was puzzled. She said that Jason had never called before, that there was no such call in the records. She left her house that night, without even packing her things. The police launched an investigation, but neither the source of the letters was found, nor was there any trace of the first call on the 911 line. Jason still won't tell anyone where he is. He only says this: "The real 911 couldn't help me, because that first call came from somewhere else." Every night, someone hears a sound in the dark. A click, a breath, sometimes a whisper. And soon after, the phone. A number is dialed, 911. But what if help doesn't come? What if on the other end it's not the police, but something else? The 3 stories we are telling tonight are not just moments when calls for help are met with silence. They are real events that break out of the system, that defy explanation, that challenge the human mind. And it all really happened. If a man watches you outside your window at night, but the police say no crime, if a stranger comes out of your closet at night and drinks milk, but they say insufficient evidence, or if someone tells you the line you are calling does not belong to this world, that's when you learn the true definition of fear. What about you? Which story scared you the most? The man in the window, the stranger in the closet, or the voice on the phone? Leave it in the comments. If this video gave you goosebumps, please leave a like and subscribe, because Midnight Whispers will continue to whisper true stories from the darkness every week. Until the next video, don't turn off the lights. Always double check your phone. And if you hear that familiar voice again, don't look back, because sometimes something really happens there.